Welcome to Spill the Ink, a podcast by Reputation Inc., where we feature experts in growth and brand visibility for law firms and architecture, engineering, and construction firms. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hey everyone, it's Michelle Calcote-King here. I'm the host of this show and also the principal and president of Reputation Inc., a public relations and content marketing agency for law firms. We understand how sophisticated corporate buyers find and select law firms. For the past 10 years, we've helped law firms grow through thought leadership-fueled strategies, including media relations, byline article placement, blogging, email marketing, video marketing, social media, litigation PR, and more. To learn more, go to rep-inc, that's inc with a K.com, or email us at info@rep-inc.com. So our guest today is Jennifer Johnson. She's the founder and CEO of Calibrate Legal, a recruiting and consulting firm for the legal industry. The company's advisors help law firms achieve superior business results through the strategic use of talent, time, and technology. Law firms around the world rely on Jennifer to find sophisticated talent, while legal marketing teams rely on Jennifer for the tools and training they need to drive performance and ROI. She's got an impressive resume. She spent 6 years in lawyer recruitment and marketing at an AmLaw 100 firm, and she's held numerous legal leadership positions within the Legal Marketing Association, including she recently served as the secretary of the International Board of Directors. In October of 2017, Jennifer was inducted into the College of Law Practice Management, which recognizes distinguished leaders in the profession. And in 2020, she was appointed to the Board of Trustees. She's also a fellow of the ALM Intelligence Program. And in 2020, she was named as a Global Top 100 leader in legal strategy and consulting by LawDragon. That's quite a lot, but thank you.
Wow, it is a lot. Thank you. That was amazing.
Yeah, well, I'm very excited to have you here. I think we've got some really cool stuff to talk about. But at first, if you don't mind, just kind of tell me about your journey with Calibrate Legal, how you founded it and kind of walk me through that.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your interest and the invitation. I'm excited to chat with you. So I started my own company in 2011. So it'll be 11 years in April. And I actually started it was called J. Johnson Executive Search. And about 5 years in, I decided that I wanted to grow the company. And it was important to me that I bring on people who would be able to foster their own individual professional reputations. And I just wanted my name I didn't want to be the one. I wanted to kind of remove that. I've always liked the word calibrate. And if you look it up, it's a mechanical engineering term. But one day I was a shower thought and I was like, I love it. Right. And so it's Calibrate Legal for the past 5 years and change. And around that time, we also expanded the business. So it went from just executive search, predominantly on the marketing and recruiting side of the house. And I brought in Gordon Brown Woodbury, who runs our consulting division, focused on helping marketing teams operate at their highest and best. So really aligning the people that they have with the technologies and then ensuring the process is in place, right, to make them operate at their highest and best and at the most strategic way possible. And I'm excited that just in the last month or so, we brought in 2 additional consultants on that side of the house, and we're about to formally launch Calibrate Strategies. And so you appreciate this as a brand person. We're separating Calibrate Legal and Calibrate Strategies because the legal is the executive search side of the house. Right. We've also expanded from just marketing BD comms to anything under the talent umbrella, HR, professional development, attorney recruiting. And we've got a number of COO searches going right now as well. So
fantastic.
We're like spinning off Calibrate Strategies in the consulting group, which is very exciting.
Yeah, I was just reading an article that you were quoted in, and they were talking about how recruiting in the past year for legal marketing talent has just sort of exploded. What's going on in the market right now?
A lot. It's wild. And I know people always say that, but I actually really mean it. So much so that we are on a multi-week wait list for our clients to be able to launch new searches. I've added 4 people to our search team just in the last 4 months.
Wow.
And it's incredible. And we want to do the very best job for our clients and preserve that integrity that that reputation that we've built in the industry. And so I feel so blessed by the opportunity, but also you probably as a business owner, like drowning in opportunity, but feeling like grateful. And so how do you manage that? So I've really been working with my team to pump the brakes a little bit for our own sanity and our own health and wellness. So what's going on is the addition of headcount. So it's not people. So yes, there's the replacing of people who are leaving for whatever reason.
Right.
But what we see, more than 50% of the roles we're working on and all of our positions are retained, exclusive to Calibrate, as opposed to a contingency.
Mm-hmm.
More than 50% of them are brand new to the org chart headcount.
Wow.
Additional people. And that's just incredible. I mean, departments are growing, I want to say maybe 10 or 15% by headcount. Wow. And salaries, I think that article that you read.
Yes. Yeah, it caught my eye.
15 to 20% up on base salaries from this time last year.
Interesting. It makes me wonder if that's a sign that law firms are really recognizing the importance of marketing and, that the professional staff to their overall, growth and profitability.
Yeah. I mean, that is my hope. It's definitely reaching beyond just the marketing teams. We're seeing that firms are really hiring people who are subject matter experts in whatever that discipline is, whether it's finance or marketing or HR and talent management and workforce planning, like really adding these people and then asking them, what do you think we should do? And taking their advice.
Wow.
It's really, we're turning a corner, which is super, super exciting.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, let's talk about, you talk a lot, and I know you've trademarked the term revenue enablers. So tell me what you mean by revenue enablers, and tell me why you're passionate about this.
Yeah. So often we see an us versus them mentality in law firms. And I mean, even so much that there's some law firms that have separate cafeterias, for people to have lunch in. And you even see like such a disparity between benefits packages. So you could have a legal assistant who is a tried and true and loyal employee there for 20 years who gets weeks less vacation than a first year lawyer who's 20 whatever right out of law school. And so it's like we're valuing human beings differently and aren't understanding the contribution that everyone makes to make the business go. So if you didn't have, for example, a conference services team that made sure that the conference rooms were set how you wanted the brand to portray, you would have your client or whoever you've invited in, it has a different experience. And the fact that you pay somebody whatever, $50,000 or whatever to keep the napkins in order and the coffee filled means that you're valuing them. They're an asset on the balance sheet. You need them to fulfill the bigger picture of what you're trying to achieve. But so many law firms, lawyers, lawyer leadership just don't really see it that way. And so I've had a number of conversations with lawyers, and I frame it, I said, clearly you're the business owners. You own the place. It's your business. And you're the revenue generators. That's what you went to law school for. Most lawyers didn't go to law school to be business people. And if you look at the real world, your clients, for example, they have a C-suite that run the business with them and for them. Yeah. Right. And so why would it be any different here? And so the non-lawyers, which I hate that term, those are your revenue enablers. You generate it, but they help you make it come true. Right. All of the people that play a role from the conference services professional who does the napkins, right? To the woman or the person rather at your reception desk, to the email marketing campaigns, to how clients are receiving their bills. All of that requires professionals to do that so that the lawyer, so everybody that's not practicing law is enabling the business to be successful. And so that is the term that I just, glommed onto a few years ago. And it's a riff off of sales enablement, right? In the real world, outside, which is everything outside of law. It's a riff off of sales enablement.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really smart. And it really does kind of flip that whole non-lawyer, phrase on its head, because you're very correct. These are the people that enable them to generate that revenue and to make that profit and to do what they do. So, really smart. One of the things I saw you write about are the traits of a I guess a good revenue enabler, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Like, what makes someone a good revenue enabler?
Yeah, there's a few things. One is do what you say you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Full stop. And that's not just in your professional life. That's if you want to be trusted, do what you say you're going to do. Or if you're not going to, admit it quickly and let somebody know that you're not going to follow through. The next thing I would say is perspective. So perspective is probably one of my most favorite words and concepts. I feel like I know to be true in our industry, so many people, it's very insulated. And we look at what lawyers are precedent driven, right? So you're always looking to see what the law firm next door is doing. And our community is amazing in that we share and we enable each other to be successful. But I think it perpetuates sameness, right? Because if somebody next door is already doing it and then we do it, then it's already being done. So it's not different.
Absolutely.
And so there's this fear, right? Mm-hmm. Of being first.
Right.
It's the race for second, always with law firms. And so I think that people who actively go elsewhere to learn and bring concepts back that you translate into the partnership law firm environment is huge. I think that's one of the things. Another thing is that you don't have an ego. It's not about you. It's like servant leadership. It's about how can I be in service to the organization? But in order for somebody to realize that, they have to be treated. You have to be in an environment where people are treating them or giving them the opportunity to shine, giving them the opportunity to provide options and give their opinions on things. Another thing I think is that you're okay not being liked by everybody.
Yeah.
So I'd rather be respected than liked. I've learned that the hard way over the years. And I think that you're never going to make everybody happy, but as long as your heart is in the right place and you really are doing what you think is best for the organization, the right people will see that. So, and I also think that you can't have an attitude of me, mine, I, right? So a lot of times we see dysfunction in law firms because there's these little vertical fiefdoms, right? Between the various business lines and verticals like IT, finance, marketing, HR. Either they don't talk to each other, or if they do, it's competition. And it just doesn't work, So there's a piece on our site, which I'm happy to send you, that kind of lists all the various traits.
Yeah. Those are great. That's a fantastic list, and it kind of applies no matter the discipline, really. But I'd like to talk, because this is a marketing podcast, a little bit about, because I know you place a lot of legal marketing folks in law firms. What do you see are the trends impacting the legal marketers that you're placing, and what are they facing when they get in these new roles, and what are they needing to really stay abreast of that you're seeing?
Yeah, so digital marketing is du jour. right now, as it should be. I think it's great that we're finally getting here. I think that any person in a marketing department, I'm using that word to encompass all the people, comms, BD, anybody, but all the players in a marketing department should, in my opinion, have at least some surface level knowledge of how technology can enable marketing and business development communications. You don't need to know exactly the fundamentals of how a CRM works or email marketing drip campaigns, but to understand the ultimate outcome
from a high level, absolutely.
From a high level, and how it could be used to inform your strategies that you're putting into place. And I definitely have seen barriers begin to be broken down between marketing and IT, which is amazing. I think finance is the next nut to crack for a lot of marketing professionals, right?
Agreed.
Because it's very much so the numbers are so closely guarded.
Yeah.
But a marketing person really can't do their job the way that they should be able to if they don't know what the numbers are. The numbers in terms of profitability, right? And who are our most profitable clients and what makes them profitable. If you don't have access to that information, it makes you're sort of guessing, I think it's this, but I don't know. So I'm excited that I've seen a lot of IT and marketing joint projects and synergies. But I do think that there is still very much a place where marketing teams need to own their own tech stack and have people who are super users of the various pieces within the stack. So what we're seeing is that a lot of firms sort of just tape and glue and then buy something else to sit on something because something's not working. And then there's another thing. And so they'll add it and then nothing talks to each other. So the average marketing department has 21 pieces of technology and 2 of them are connected.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's a big hurdle that needs, particularly as lawyers have caught on to the fact that digital marketing, and again, that's semantics. A lot of them don't know exactly what that means, but they're seeing competitors do it. Clients are talking about it in terms of the distribution of important and critical information, connectivity, whatever. So I think that's really a big piece of it, and not getting stuck in your own lane.
Right.
Like definitely tend to your knitting, but be aware of what others are doing around you. So if you're in marketing, what it takes for an RFP to come to life. But if you're in BD, what it takes for, somebody to actually produce the list that you need. It's not an appreciation for your coworkers and the effort that it takes for them to help you.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I'm guessing, are you placing more marketing technologists? Yeah.
Now, this year alone, we've had 4 directors of marketing ops roles.
Wow.
And it's really, really interesting. We've done 3 very senior digital marketing roles, and we're seeing both so digital, we're seeing the technologists, but then also the content producers. So 2 different people. And a lot of firms think they're the same person. Right. And I'm just telling you they're not.
Right.
So there's one person that enables it and reports on it, tracks it, measures it. And then there's another person that is crafting, and it's the voice of what we're bringing the content to life. Not the same person, please know.
Right. Complete different skill sets. Absolutely.
But a lot of firms are like, we just need a digital marketing person.
Right.
And I'm like, it's the same, honestly, with like RFP people.
Sure.
I really have to talk to our clients. Okay. Are we writing or are we processing?
Right.
Project managing, which is it? Both. Okay, that's fine. If you only have allocation for one headcount, you need to determine, do you want the priority to be the writer or the process person?
Exactly.
They're not the same person.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. I've worked with many clients, and I'm not a recruiter, but I often clients ask me to look at job descriptions for roles they're filling, and I'll look at them and I'll think, you're asking for 5 different people in one,
Correct.
And you're right. Sometimes that's what the budget allows, but that's good advice to prioritize, what you need the most. So
Yeah.
what about, obviously flexible work arrangements are a big topic right now, especially in the legal industry, as it's such a conservative industry. How is that impacting your work and what kind of talent law firms are able to get and that kind of thing?
So how I might answer that today is different from how I answered it yesterday. And it's probably going to be different from how I would answer it tomorrow because it's all rapidly unfolding in front of us. A couple of things I would say. Typically, the higher up the org chart the role is, firms are more open for that person to be wherever.
Mm-hmm.
And the caveat to the wherever is any place where they have an office, even if so for example, as long as you have if you live in Texas, but not within the driving distance to one of their offices, as long as you live in that jurisdiction, that's fine, as long as you're happy to travel. What they won't do though is open a jurisdiction in Montana for somebody. Like they're not going to set up shop in a new state with taxes and insurance and whatever. So that's one thing that we're seeing. The next thing is that the firms who have offices with influential people, or a critical mass in cities that rely on mass transportation, you're seeing them still not commit yet to what that looks like. So New York, Chicago, DC, where people ride buses, subways, whatever, they're still like pushing back on what that looks like, pushing the date back. But
why does the public transport make a difference? What's the key
staff
factor there?
rides the public transport, and if there's a new variant, people are not wanting to come in and ride and be like this on the subway, in a confined cabin with somebody.
Yeah, the risk is higher.
They risk losing their workforce. But in cities where people drive from their garage to the underground parking garage or parking lot outside the law firm, most of those are back in 100%.
Right.
With no flexibility.
Yeah.
I am seeing some firms though that are giving the management of the firms are giving their vertical leads, so their CMO, chief, whatever titles, the liberty to decide what's right for their own teams. Generally speaking, we're seeing a 3-2 schedule. And most people
3 days,
are okay
3
with
days
that.
in the office,
3 days
2 days
in,
at home.
2 out.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And most firms most people in the talent pool are okay with that. I would say the ones in their 20s are not wanting to go in the office. The ones in the 30s, interestingly, want to go to the office most of the time.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And the ones older than that want the 3-2 schedule.
Isn't that interesting?
Totally. Like the coordinator level types don't want to come to the office.
Yeah, it's funny. I would have, I've seen that too, but if I had to guess, I would have guessed that younger people would want the office. We're completely virtual. All my team is in home offices. And, I worried when I've been hiring that it would be that case, but it's not. Yeah, it's very, it's fascinating.
Same here. We're virtual completely, always have been. And so that wasn't a transition for us. But I think about that all the time. I think about how do you determine what your values are and make sure that those values are articulated? How do you create connectivity? How often do you get people together in real life? It's interesting and it's hard and it's something that is outside of most of our expertise. Like I don't, I got to go learn about that, and that takes time. And so it's just extra that we all have to think about. Yeah.
Very, very fascinating. The other thing I saw you write an article about is a trend where there's a migration happening of business professional talent out of the legal industry. Why is that?
Probably because they've been in a couple of different environments, law firm environments, where the lawyers don't treat the staff with respect for whatever reason. And they just kind of like, forget it. I'll go to a place where
Right.
I can make a difference, and I am treated like an adult. So a lot of people go to the Big Four. I've seen a lot actually just go to nonprofit and call it a day. But so the Big Four law pays better,
Yeah.
but the Big Four has formal career pathing. You know what you have to do to get promoted.
Yeah.
You know what you have to do to get a bonus in many cases. You
Yeah.
know, they have robust health and wellness programs. They have robust programs where you can upskill or reskill people and move them around, secondments. They have KPMG does Fridays off or whatever it is every summer. And then they close up at the end of December.
Yeah.
So there's all of these perks that aren't monetary in nature that people are really gravitating towards. And law firms for staff, there is no plan for promotion or what attributes and skills do you need to demonstrate over what course of time in order to be promoted.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I see that myself. So tell me, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is your new, your annual research program, Calibrate ID. So what led you to creating that?
So it was also grown out of the frustration that there's an us versus them in many instances. And as diversity became du jour in terms of adding the positions in the last couple of years, what I found that irritated me was that it was just for the lawyers. And Mansfield is just for the lawyers. And I think it's a great program. And I've known them for years. But what about the other 50% of the workforce?
Yeah.
And you can't tell me that somebody on the staff side isn't going to wake up one day and be like, what about me?
Right.
There's no program for me. I was talking to a woman about 18 months ago that said, I got to a certain place in my department. She's a Hispanic woman. And she said, I got to a certain place in my department and nobody looked like me, like nobody. And she said she went to the one of the affinity group leaders, who was a lawyer, and said, can I join your group? And I was told, no, you're not a lawyer.
Wow.
And that was really powerful. And then we did a search where it was a social media search, more of a junior level. And I think that's a great place to infuse people from the outside. And so we brought them some candidates. 2 of them were from law firms down the street, and 2 of them were from other, like a Big Four kind of place. So transferable, but would need training and whatever. So the firm, we send the resumes, we talk to them, and they say, actually, we're only going to see the people from the law firms. We don't train people here.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what? Like, I knew it to be true, but it came out of their mouths and I went, what do you mean we don't train people here?
Yeah.
And then the saddest part about it was the 2 from the outside were diverse women, and the 2 from the law firms down the street were Caucasian women. So not only are we perpetuating going from one firm to the next firm to the next firm to do the exact same thing,
right? We're
not allowing diversity in both in terms of skill set, approach, perspective, and ethnicity. Because if you keep hiring people that are already in, that looks like a certain demographic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that was the idea. I got with a few firms who knew me, trusted me, and said, we're going to do this. And it was most of the ones that signed on, it was managing partner driven. The D&I professionals are stretched so incredibly thin. The ones I talked to loved the idea of the program, but were like, how would we possibly do this? And so we did launch it with 10 firms, and we got all the data in, and it's been a great project. We're going to get ready to ramp up again. So it's a benchmarking program where they can see where they fit with other firms. And we're actively adding more firms in who are interested in an inclusive look at their entire workforce, not just the lawyers. And, it's going to take a couple of years. That it takes time for programs like this, where you start seeing trends and things.
Yeah.
But we're working with these firms to figure out goals to set for themselves and what might make the most sense in terms of maybe employee resource groups or just different internal communications methods to be inclusive. And so there's a number of angles that we're working with them to help them chart a path forward that's right for them and their own evolution.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that's it's very needed. So I'll be looking for the next one. The last thing I want to ask you about, as I was getting ready for this, I saw in your bio that your networking skills were featured in a case study in a book about networking. So tell me one your approach to networking and what was it that caught the eye of that author?
So the case study was essentially, I rolled into New York City. I'm a Texan. I moved to New York City in 2004. I didn't know a soul. I literally knew nobody. And I was charged with helping to build a marketing recruitment division of an existing agency. And essentially I thought, well, I got to go meet these people. So I rolled into a legal marketing association lunch meeting. And I said to them, hey, if you guys ever need any help, I'm new here. I don't know anybody. Happy to help. And they were like, oh, really? Here you go. And then I was doing the name tag table.
Yeah.
And, it was that offer to help. I don't do well going places where I don't have a purpose.
Yep.
So if I'm not in a wedding, I'm like, I spin around like I need to not be, I'm an introvert. You might be surprised, but I am. And so I found myself just really investing time into this group of people who in turn were lovely and inclusive of me. And so that was really what the case study was about. Like, how do you so many people go to networking events purposeless and just hope for the best. And that's just not, so the idea was find a purpose and then, and be helpful.
Yeah.
Going forward, she's actually having the next edition of her book come out, Kelly. And I just submitted some follow-up thoughts to her that she's going to use in the book. And now I do it. A lot of why I volunteer and am happy to talk with people is to give back. At this point, it's because so many people believed in me. So many people rah me. And now I feel as if I'm in a position to do it for others. So that's my take on it, is don't do it unless you mean it, because people will see right through it. And my biggest advice is don't start networking when you need something.
Right. Yeah.
Because if you only come out when you need something, the people that you need something from are not going to help you.
Right.
Because it's inauthentic.
Yeah. Yeah. It was funny. I was just saying that to somebody the other day about how painful it is to go to a networking event where you don't have, you're not doing something, you're not volunteering, you're just there to, but if you build your network through, serving on a committee, whatever, 100%. You end up establishing relationships and then those events become enjoyable.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. And you're tied to the mission. I mean, I've done a number of things professionally, personally. I've done Dress for Success. I've done, obviously the LMA, I've done a ton of different things there. And so the key for me was always to find a spot and to raise my hand to help. And if you do that, then whoever they are, will come asking you to do more.
Right.
And then you're in the fold. And I don't know, I have gone to the networking where you roll in and you get a drink and people are like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? It's just, that's not my jam. I typically don't do that. I have, and I did in my first few years in New York City. But after that, I typically do one-on-ones or two-on-ones. My other thing that I do is I love to bring people who don't know each other that I think will like one another in a room together. To me, that's super fun.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's great. That's a good value add. Well, thank you so much. This has been a great conversation. So we've been talking to Jennifer Johnson of Calibrate Legal. Jennifer, if people want to learn more about you, about your company, where should they go?
Yeah, so it's calibrate-legal.com, and that will take you to all the places, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, all the places.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Spill the Ink, a podcast by Reputation Inc. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.